Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast. This is episode 388. Make sure you click to subscribe right now so you'll never miss a journey. I post one episode each week and each guest has a fascinating story to tell.
Joining us today is David Braithwaite. David is an associate coach for strategic coach and a successful financial planner based in the UK. With many years of experience, David is a sought-after speaker and a media personality known for his empathetic approach to coaching and his ability to connect with people. Hello, David.
Well, hello, Patience. Nice to be on your show.
Thank you for coming. My audience are excited to hear your story. Just start by telling us one thing we are going to learn from you today.
Well, actually, I think one of the things that you're going to learn from today is the power, and I hate to sort of use your name in vain, but your first name is a great name when it comes to success, and that is patience, is having patience and not expecting everything to happen at once and being impatient when things don't happen straight away for us. So I think the power of patience is a really, really strong trait that everybody should learn, to be more patient when thinking about their own success generally. And all things good come to those who wait is a very good saying, and it's absolutely true. But it's about patience. It's about taking time to do the planning that you want to do in your personal and professional life, but having the patience to see it all come together.
Wow, I can't wait to hear more about that. Let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my audience a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your own business?
So before I started my own business, I was always a bit of an entrepreneur, right from when I was a child. So my grandfather, and often we find that our influences that we have in our lives come from our family, and my grandfather was certainly one of those. He was a bit of an entrepreneur, and he got me into the whole idea of if you want to actually earn some money, you can do it for yourself. So he got me into that sort of mindset very, very early on. And to the point where when I was very young and I was still at school, about 17 years old, I think I was actually having 3 different jobs to earn money, from paper rounds to working in kitchens to working in an electrical retailer, all on the same day. So I was always very much having a work ethic. And I worked then full-time after leaving school, wasn't very well qualified, to be fair. So I didn't go to university and get degrees or anything like that. I left with very few qualifications from school, but was probably very highly motivated and very determined, which is possibly arguably better than some of the actual qualifications you can get. If you're motivated, you can achieve quite a lot. So what I did was I moved around various jobs from a state agency, and then latterly ended up in banking, actually, where I worked for a branch of a building society. And it was while I was there that I decided that I wanted to do this myself. The reason being, the bank that I worked for had another competitor literally opposite the side of the road where we were, and it was a very narrow part of town where we were, so you could see the windows of the other bank opposite. And I'd have people come in and sit down and talk to me about their mortgages and their investments and so on. And I felt really guilty opening up an account or starting something with me when I knew full well they could get a better deal if they literally crossed the street. And I wished I could tell them the truth, because with financial planning, it's very difficult. You always want to do the right thing, but when you're working for that one bank, you have to represent them. So I found that I got very frustrated with actually being able to only recommend what it was that I was representing. So decided to go it alone and joined a firm and started actually giving advice to people as it was that I wanted to say. And the way I give advice is with, you mentioned empathy, is that I was particularly skilled at being able to put myself in other people's shoes, kind of see and feel how they would be about everything, put myself in their shoes and give advice, but knowing what I knew. So it was always very much about looking out for them, but empathizing with them as well. And that's where it all started. And I left that firm that I was working with because he moved on. And I set up on my own. I think it was in 2002. So crikey, it's over 20 years ago, Patience. That's what you call patience. So over 20 years ago, set up on my own. and never really looked back since. And I've now got a big team of people that work with me and clients all over. And as well as doing the financial advice, I have another business, which is legal conveyancing. I have a healthcare company as well. And I'm a coach for Strategic Coach, which has been quite pivotal in a lot of the success that I have thankfully managed to enjoy and work hard at.
Wow, what a background, David. But why do you do what you do?
So what do I spend my day doing now is mostly financial planning. That's the business that I'm mostly actually involved with. But I started with Strategic Coach, being coached by them from around 2009. And I joined them because I was expecting we were expecting our son that we've got now, who's 13. So that's why I always remember when I started. And I recognized that what I wanted was, it was great to build a business. But what I found was that I started creating myself a bit of a job. And by that, what I mean was that it's all very well you set up on your own and you do your own thing because you want broadly sort of freedoms about time. You want to be able to work what hours that you want, take what holiday that you want, and that's all great. You want freedom of money as well so that you can earn what you want and spend what you want. You want freedom of relationships, so you choose who you actually deal with and who you spend your time with in terms of the business side of things, and also professionally as well as personally as well, and also your purpose. So you get to do what it is that you strongly believe in. And what I found was that actually starting off like that is how it actually evolves. But what happens is that you get very bogged down and muddied with the fact that I was trying to be everything to everybody. And I suffered a lot from that, where it felt as though I was on a treadmill getting faster and faster, and there was no way of getting off. So much like you would when you go to the gym and you want to get better results, you would go and see a personal trainer. I decided to get a personal trainer for my business and join Strategic Coach, which is almost like all the things that you probably should have learned about business before you set it up. But you find out as you go. So what I found with the work was that I was working, freedom of time. I was working more and more hours, weekends, evenings, and would respond to a phone call or an email, because it was around the advent of so-called mobile phones and smartphones coming out that can follow you everywhere. So I wasn't having the freedom over the time. I felt guilty taking time off because the business wanted me. The money side of things, well, it's good to start with, but actually sooner or later you've got to invest in your business, and it's knowing how and when to do that. And your relationships, well, I was talking to anybody that would talk to me and being not very strategic about it, because business is business. You want to try and please everybody. And then the purpose, well, I lost that really, because I was just trying to stand still, let alone move forwards. And what it did at that point for me was to unravel a lot of that complexity and simplify an awful lot of things for me, and help me to see the wood for the trees. So much like you would get a personal trainer in the gym, I had a coach for my business, which when you talk about it, it sort of makes sense really. But not a lot of people actually know that you can have that, or even want to engage with that, because you want to do it your own way. But I would challenge whether actually what you have is a business, which really should be something that you could leave and it would still keep growing without you in it, or is it a job where actually you're tied down to that chair that you're sitting in and you have to be there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And that's not why you set it up in the first place. It was try and get freedoms. And often we don't find that we get that patience. That's the problem.
Thank you for sharing. Let's put man aside. How do you know you are successful?
I think success is a different thing for every different person. For some people, it's when they want to get a certain car. For some people, it's when they want to have a certain size house, material things. For me, success is about being happy. And I think you have to recognize when is enough for a lot of people. And for some things, material goods do drive people. But for me, I think success is being able to have the time and the happiness to choose what experience it is that you take part in. So when you're on that holiday, and lots of people will book holidays away, when you're on that beach or you're on that coastline or wherever you might be, are you really relaxed? Are you really switched off? Or are you still thinking about work? So for me, I think success is finding that balance between what you do during the day for your work to earn you the money, but then finding happiness both in your work, but also when you're out of it as well. And that to me is true success. And all those 4 things that I mentioned early on, your time, your money, relationships, and purpose, all of those feed into that success, without which I think you can feel quite unfulfilled, because there's lots of people I know that are very, very, very rich people. But actually, you know what? Some of the people that earn a lot less than them are far happier. So where would you rather be? And that's the thing, is that you can have the cars, the house, the cash, but at the end of the day, we're all going to pass away at some point, patients. That's the sad thing. And they're not going to remember you for your cars, the house, the cash. They're going to remember you for what you did and how you made people feel around you. And I think that's a really good definition of success for me.
Tell our listeners how to achieve our goals through guided conversation.
Well,
that's new.
Yeah. I mean, goals are a really interesting thing. I think, first of all, is how many people actually have any? Because it's all very well saying, I want this, I want that. But actually, how many people go the next step and write them down and then think and strategize about how they can get there? So I always think you end with the goal in mind and work backwards from there. But for me, I think goals are really important to have because it's what I would call your North Star. It's your why. It's why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you getting up in the morning? Why are you going to do the work that you're doing? Well, it's usually so that you can get to a goal, and that you can have a goal for a day, which is I'm going to make 10 phone calls today or whatever it might be. But we all need these things to know if we're actually doing well or not. So for me personally, and I'd recommend everybody does this, is to have some lifetime goals. So what is it you want to achieve? And you're giving yourself the rest of your life to actually achieve that. And then looking at the shorter term, what would you be looking at for, say, 5 years, 3 years? Then what are you going to do for the next year? And then what are you going to do for the next quarter? And there's a really good book, actually. It's called Will It Make the Boat Go Faster? And it's all about a rowing team that went to the Olympics in Sydney some years ago. And what they did is that with their training program to get there, they asked a question of everything that they did in their life as to, will it make the boat go faster? So if they were going to maybe go out for an evening and go out and have a drink and a nice dinner, etc., if it doesn't make the boat go faster, we shouldn't be doing it. And we can often use that own filter on our side of things, patients, as well. I think when you're looking at everything, if you've got your goals written down for your quarter, your year, your 3 year, your lifetime, and ask yourself the question, is what I'm doing right now getting me nearer to where I want to be with those or further away? And that's a really good filter question to actually ask yourself, frankly. And if it's getting you further away, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Now, I know that real life comes into this as well, but we all have to have some goals. And I think the key to it is actually writing these things down, being able to picture it and imagine it in your head, but breaking it down into small pieces. If you were to write down, I want to own a £10 million house during my lifetime, it seems like a huge, huge goal for lots of people. And for people, they go, I could never do that. But actually, you know what? If you break it down and think, well, okay, what do I need to do to get there? What have I got to do in the next 5 years, 3 years, month? How are you going to get there just to get yourself nearer towards that? And you know what? Little things that you do every single day can make a big difference to the overall picture. But if you don't know where you're heading, then you're probably going to get there as well. There's a great quote which Dan Sullivan, who's actually the founder of Strategic Coach, when you go into the building in their head office in Toronto, it's right up the staircase, and it says, your eyes only see and your ears only hear what your brain is looking for. So you think about that. So when you're actually walking around and doing all the things that you're doing in your normal life, if you haven't told your brain what to look for, how is it going to find it? And a quick example of that would be that if you're thinking about buying a new red car, for example, a Mini, let's just say, then how many people suddenly all seem to have a red Mini? Now, you're not looking for them, but your brain starts spotting them, and life leaves clues, patients. So if you actually haven't got any written goals down, you need to write some goals down, think about them, and regularly look at them. I look at my goals every Wednesday morning just to keep myself on track, to know exactly where I'm heading and the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it sounds a bit mungo, but actually, it is true. These things do work. It's just that you've got to make the effort to make them work. It isn't just going to land on your lap.
You mentioned that you look at your goals every Wednesday. Others, they say they have look at their goals every morning, every evening. Why just once a week for you?
Because that works for me. I have a goal my goals are broken down into a quarter, but I do know that there's people that do, and I do it as well, like a gratitude at the end of the day. So 3 things that made your day good. I think is really important to focus on the positive and think about your goals. And there's different ways that you can have it work for yourself. I think at the end of the day, rather than saying, oh, you have to do this, you must do this, you've got to find what works for you. If I told everybody to wake up in the morning and think about all their goals, how long would that habit actually last? But if I said, well, actually look at it once a week, and you just focus on them and spend just 10 minutes, there's a higher likelihood that people will do that rather than actually looking at it every day. But equally, there's some people that want to look at them every day. And if that works for you, do whatever does the right thing for you. You do you, but just do something and don't do anything, because that's the worst. That's the worst crime, is not doing anything at all. And then you're definitely going to get nowhere. So.
Thank you. Tell my audience about the magic moment, the day it suddenly all went right for you.
I have many of those, and I think all of us probably get those in our lives where you just think, this all makes sense. And I think it, for me, is when I go onto the coaching program, I'm in a room full of people who are like me, and I get many magic moments when I'm in there. So what I find is that when I have a team of people around me, and that could be clients, that could be the people that work with me, is that they can all come to you. Everybody can come to you, because at the end of the day, you're the boss. You're the person they're talking to. But here's the thing. Where does that business owner, the entrepreneur, where do you go? Where you can be in a safe place, for want of a better word, where you can truly be yourself, where you can talk to other people, and actually those people won't judge you, but are there to support and help you and raise your game. So you're in a room full of what I would call balcony people, and not basement people. So you don't want to be around people that bring you down to their level. You want to be around a group of people where those magic moments can happen, and be in that right area, whatever your greenhouse might be, to help you grow. And, you become the average of the top 5 people that you hang around with. It's a common saying. And I really believe that. I think you've got to choose your company carefully. Make sure that you're around those right fit people that can help you aspire to be a better version of yourself that you currently are, and the people that you want to be more like. It's a bit like in sport, really, isn't it? If you're always playing somebody that you beat every single time you play them in, say, tennis, whatever it might be, is your game really improving? What you want to be is playing people that are slightly better than you, so that marginally you're increasing your standards and quality of the game that you're playing, and you're moving up market rather than down. And I think that's really, really important in life, is to be hungry, to want to learn, and be around those people that can help you grow. So the magic moments for me come from the people I've been with. And, there's lots of people in life that are really quite inspirational, and it's just hanging around those right fit people.
What is one thing that has contributed to your success?
That's a really good question. I would say the right people around me in the team where I've recruited them. So having the right people in your team of your business has got such a massive influence on the success or failure of what it is that you do. So I would say that there's several key people. When I've actually hired them, they know more than you do. They know answers to questions that you haven't even thought of yet, and you can delegate things. So no man should be an island, or a woman should be an island. You shouldn't be on your own the whole time. To grow, you've got to let go. Okay, so you've got to let go to grow. So if you don't let go to the right people, are you going to be growing quite as much? So it's really crucial to find the right fit hires around you. Now, for some people, if you're early on your entrepreneurial career, then maybe the thought of actually taking somebody on and paying somebody might be a little way off. But with the advent of online and the internet and finding people anywhere around the world that can help you, and far rather you actually delegate and find somebody who can do something than work out for yourself how you're going to do something. So it's about who, not how. So that's been the most important thing for me, is having the right people around me that I can delegate the things that I'm probably not so good at to people that are really good at them, so I can do more of what I would call my unique ability and focus on that and grow the company and be doing more of what I enjoy, and not get so bogged down with the stuff that we just don't like, because that's not fun, is it?
Not at all. Tell my audience about the why a 10x is easier than a 2x.
So this is a very strange concept. And when first people hear about it, they think, well, how growing 10 times is easier than 2 times? That can't be right. That sounds like 5 times the work. It isn't. So let me give you some context around this. And this is based on a book that Dan Sullivan has written. And the reason why 10 times is easier than 2 times is because you have to be really quite forensic about what's good and what isn't, and what you're going to be doing more of, and also what you're going to be doing no more of. So if I was to say to somebody, right, imagine your business is 10 times bigger than what it is now, what would it look like? And then if you imagine stepping into that business, what is it that you would no longer do because you haven't got the time to do it? It's not going to get you nearer to there, or you haven't got the right resources to actually do it either. So when you're actually growing 10 times, you're also being far more choosy about the type of client that you might be taking on as well. So is it a client that's future-based for you, or is it a client that actually is going to keep you back where you are? So 10 times isn't about more, but less. It's about being far more strategic about what it is that you're doing. It's about a filter that you're putting onto your life every time that you commit to 10 times. And it takes you on a journey. And it's like peeling away layers of an onion, discovering actually who you actually are. But it becomes the filter for everything that you do. Everything is then, is it 10 times or 2 times? And anything that that's not 10 times, that doesn't meet the filter, can get released from your attention. So our greatest bottleneck that we have is attention. When we think about what it is that we're doing, all of our life just involves attention. But imagine if we were far more laser focused on what it actually does. So being 2 times is like being stuck in a finite game. Everything is all there. You're not expanding. You're just growing. And let's be honest, a lot of people, if you've got your own business, you could probably grow your business 2 times by not really doing a lot different to what you're doing. Just keep on doing what you're doing. The organic growth will take you there, and you'll be 2 times bigger than what you were. But let's face it, you might want to be more than just maintaining the status quo. You want to let go of everything that isn't 10 times in your life. And this is hard because a lot of what we do is caught up in everything being 2 times. We're trying to keep the status quo. We're trying to keep everything on an even keel. But actually, when you think about, I'm going to grow 10 times, it does strip out an awful lot of that, the stuff that's holding you back, and makes you think exponentially and think completely different. And I'll give you an example of that. When I was thinking about growing my business 10 times, and I had a plan for how it's going to be, and I was at the photocopier one day, and I was doing some copying, which is, it's not a problem to do that. Everybody can probably do that. And I just had this idea that popped into my head. And we all know Richard Branson. Okay, so Richard Branson, very famous entrepreneur. I had it come into my head. I thought, would Richard Branson be standing at the photocopier doing photocopying? And the answer is no, he probably wouldn't be. So at that point was a real realization that actually I need to find other people to do those sort of jobs for me, and I can be freed up to do some of the bigger picture stuff. But often we do want to get involved in the business, be too tied down to the business, instead of thinking exponentially and going, if this business is 10x, would I be doing this? And it's about thinking about all the things that you're doing in your business. Is it getting you nearer to 10x, or actually, is it just okay and it feels more comfortable? So your 2 times is where your comfort zone is, I would say. Whereas 10 times is exponential, different mindset. And it's also more exciting. Nobody wants to be comfortable in the comfort zone, do they? We want to be growing. You think about how it was when you first set up your business, that excitement that you had, and that real, I can't wait to get going, and you get up every day. Well, just growing 2 times probably isn't going to do that for you. But thinking about 10 times growth certainly makes life a lot more exciting and acts as a filter for what you should or shouldn't be doing.
Wow. And when shall we start thinking about this 10 times from 2 times? In our first year, third year? When
Yesterday.
Shall we start?
Yesterday.
Wow.
Honestly, the sooner that you start, this is the thing, is that you need to start. And actually, this is what a lot of people don't do with their businesses. And you're thinking back to entrepreneur world where maybe people started a business, and one of the first things a lot of people did was to sit down and they wrote out a business plan. They have the business plan as to what it's going to look like, what the figures look like, and how they're going to grow it. And often what can happen when you've started your business is that then that business plan rarely gets any more attention ever again. You start your business and you get too busy doing the business to then think about working on the business because you're too busy working in the business. So if you are thinking about growing 10 times and making it easier than 2 times, first thing you got to do is actually take yourself away from the business for a bit and think about a vision. What does that 10 times vision look like? Jot it all down. What's the office you're going to be in? How many staff are you going to have? What's your turnover going to be? What's your ideal client or customer going to look like? Every single thing to do with your business, and you picture yourself in that future-based business and look around it and describe what it looks like. Now, I know for a lot of people, they'll think, yeah, but that's going to take time, isn't it? Yep, it is. But you know what? If you don't invest the time, and if you're happy staying where you are, then stay. There's nothing wrong with that. But for those people that are thinking, actually, this sounds like something I should do, the first thing you got to do is actually take yourself out the business. And it's often a quote that I know of actually as well. Almost everything will work if you unplug it for a while. Okay? And the same goes for us. Sometimes we've got to unplug us from all the rat race that is in our businesses and just take that time out. And I mean, away from emails, away from distractions, and just have that time and that space just to think with a notepad and go, how is my business going to actually look? And then once you know what it's going to look like, you then work backwards from there and look at the steps that you need to do that will actually incrementally move you nearer. It's not going to happen overnight, but at least if you've got a North Star, something you're aiming at, a goal, then you're on the right steps. And you know what? Most people won't do that because you don't have to. But the people that are successful will, and that's the difference.
When you talk about that is not going to work overnight, others, they will be like, oh, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to leave my 9 to 5. I wanted to start my business tomorrow, start making this money, getting everything I need. But now you're scaring them, telling them that it's not going to happen.
It's not.
You started with the word patience.
Yeah.
So how long can we be patient?
Well, I think that's the thing, is that people will do things and try things and say, well, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. But patience is a real skill. And once you've actually got that goal, it's about being patient. So if it is whatever 10 times the size of the business is that you want, and then, after day one, it hasn't happened, well, you shouldn't be surprised. But here's the thing is look back and go, okay, well, 24 hours ago, am I nearer to where I want to be or further from where I wanted to be? And probably you're a little bit nearer than what you thought you were because you know what direction you're actually heading in. It's the same when you go into step into your car. If you're going to go and drive somewhere, and you have the satellite navigation, the first thing you're doing is putting in the destination, and then the car works out how you're going to get there. The same thing can happen with your brain. You need to tell it what you're looking for first, and the brain has magical ways of helping you work through it all. But if you don't tell it what to look for, you're not going to find it. So it is slow. It is about having patience, and it's about making sure that things are realistic, but taking that time to actually sit and think about it. Don't just say, I want to have a £10 million house and then hope it just appears. It won't do that. You need to actually sit and think, if I'm going to do that, what have I got to do? What's my turnover got to be? How many clients will I need to have to get that turnover? How many staff will I need to have to turn over that? And you work backwards, but you start with the end in mind.
Thank you. What grounds you?
Grounds me, my son. He's now 13, so he's 13 and a half, he's going to be 14 this year. And he grounds me. And, he's a great focus, obviously, of my life, but also because he's got a voice of reason now. He's reached that age now where he can, I wouldn't say argue with you, but he can hold a sensible conversation. It's really interesting hearing, and he's a big part of my why at the end of the day as well. So he grounds me very much so, but also being outside. I really enjoy the outdoors. Especially walking. We have a place called Devon, that just down the road from, about 4 hours west of me. And I would describe that as my happy place, because every time we go there, we've probably all got these places. When we go, you think, oh, I'm happy now. So find your happy place, because that can ground you as well. Just spending time away and getting that free time put in your diary as well is really good for grounding. And this is the other thing that we can find with our businesses. We're so busy working in them the whole time and are frightened of actually letting them go. We feel that when we've got our own businesses that we've got to keep going. And then it's like, I've got to take time off because I'm so tired. Well, no, you should be putting your free time in first, and then your diary will work around that. And that's a really important thing, is having that downtime so that you do actually come back to your business feeling refreshed, really super creative, and you're better off from having been away, which sounds counterproductive, but grounding you is definitely free time as well.
Let's talk about your business. Tell us more about it and how can we join you?
So Strategic Coach is it's an international business that coaches entrepreneurs. And so far, I think there's over 30,000 entrepreneurs have been through it. It's one of the world's leading entrepreneurial coaching systems. So it's Strategic Coach. So if people want to find out more about me and about what we've got, so there is some resources I can give you actually. So people listening to this podcast, we've got something special set up for you. So if you go onto davidbpodcast.com, that's davidbpodcast.com. On there, there's some resources. So there's a book that you can have, which is about the 4 C's, about how you can actually find the courage to start off along your goals. There's a positive focus book as well, so that you can actually start writing some things down as to what you want to, how your day's gone, so you start feeling more positive about things. And a goal tracker workbook, so you can actually write down your goals, and it shows you how to break them down into chunks as well. And also, if people want to see a taster workshop, they can register on there and come along for a free taster workshop for 2 hours as well, where we actually coach a mini workshop as well. So there's loads of resources on there. That's davidbpodcast.com.
Thank you. There will be more from David in a moment. If you are encouraged by David's journey, please go to my website at onlinesuccessjourney.com,
where you will find more amazing free content. Are you struggling to achieve one or more of your major goals? Do things like fear, confusion, and overwhelm get in the way? Then maybe I can help. I work with clients to support them get unstuck and make massive leaps forward to create their dream life. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com/coaching and let's chat on Zoom to see if we are the right fit for each other. That's onlinesuccessjourney.com/coaching.
Now, David, I would love you to share more with my audience.
Certainly, happy to.
Thank you. Do you watch movies or read books?
I'm more of a book person, actually, than movies. I have very little... I don't know what it is about films. I find that they're too long. I think my brain is maybe slightly wired differently. I'm not very big for TV or movies, unless I'm on a plane, in which case I can actually... There's a few films that I do definitely like, but I'm a bit of a bookworm. I do like my books.
Tell us, what is your favorite book that has some relevance to being entrepreneur?
I would say I've just read this again, actually. There's a book by Chris Voss, and it's called Never Split the Difference. Now, this book is written by a former FBI hostage negotiator. And what it talks about is how you say things in the conversations that you have, especially when maybe you're trying to elicit a response from people in a positive way that everybody wins. So, for example, it talks about if you've got a client who's not getting back to you, that you keep chasing up and that you're getting nowhere with, there's one line that you can actually use. And we've used it so many times, and it's brought a great response. So it isn't a case of being coercive in any way, but it just makes you think about the language that we use and how we can make situations and conversations and communications a win-win for everybody. So I've just reread bits of that literally the other day. So that's had a big impact on me. So I recommend everybody reads that.
And I guess everyone listening was waiting for you to reveal what is that line.
Well, you see, that'd be cheating, you see. I could have told you the line, but you'd buy the book and turn to page 92, because that's where it is. And it is really, really good. It's so simple. And you should. I could give it away, but I think that's a secret. I think people should find out, Patience, you see.
Thank you. If your business was down to its last $100, how would you invest it?
$100, what would I do? I think I would buy something secondhand and flip it. So I would want to make more money with the $100. I would buy something secondhand. It might be a piece of furniture. It could be anything. You know, you see it on Facebook Marketplace or eBay or even going to boot fairs. I would find something that I think I could flip for more money, and I would make more money with the money, and I'd build something back up again.
If you had a little note in your pocket, what would that be?
Do more. Simple. Just 2 words. I think we're all capable of far more than what we're doing. So whether that is exercise and we want to get fit, and we can always just do a little bit more. And same in our business. It's just that make that extra call. Do more. There's always something more that we can usually do. And I just think that, to me, is my motto. It's just 2 words. Do more.
Do you feel like you succeeded or like you're only on the way?
It's a journey. I just feel that I'm on my way. Definitely, I haven't succeeded. No, I'm also quite modest. I would never say, because I think that some people's idea of success is other people think they've hardly made it. I mean, the key thing, where my son was around at a friend's house yesterday, and this house is absolutely spectacular. It is huge. It's that big that they've got their own swimming pool, they have their own tennis court, and they have another house in the grounds where their guests stay. It's huge, multi-million-pound house. So if you compare where I am to that, I'm not as successful, whatever that might be, but there are other people out there. I think there's millions of people out there in the world that haven't even got a flushing toilet. So it depends on what level of success that you actually have. A lot of people can't even get fresh water. So everyone's different. I'm just on a journey. I think we're all here on a journey, and to hopefully leave the world a slightly better place and happier people for having met you.
Will you ever stop?
No. I think it depends. I think when you stop, it depends on what your definition of stop is. I'm not the sort of person that if I was retired tomorrow that would just sit at home all day and watching TV. No, I would still want to do something, whether it's giving back to the community, doing some charity work, helping out somewhere, helping in a business, mentoring people, and still coaching, because I'm a strategic coach now. Been doing that for a few years. I'd still like to do that because it's great to see the difference that you can make in other people's lives. That gives me a great deal of satisfaction.
As we come to the end of our interview, what additional wisdom would you like to share with our listeners?
I would say, if I was going to say one thing, is just take the time and don't give up on things. It comes back to what I said at the beginning, which is having patience. So do take the time to sit down and think about what are the goals that you want to have. A lot of the wisdom out there in the world is all in books. The actual amount of information that we can get or to find out now is the best it has ever been. But a lot of us don't use it because sometimes it's easier to not do that. So I would say for people, you take the time out, unplug yourself from the world for a bit and just take time just to, you're listening to this podcast at the end of the day, so it puts you in the top very small percentages of people in the world already because you're listening to this. So you are of that mindset. But I urge everybody just to take that time a little bit more than perhaps what you do at the moment, to just have that time for you and think about your future. Your future is going to be great and it's going to be bright, but it'll be even better and brighter if you give it the time to breathe and to fill it with ideas.
Remind us how we can connect with
So if they go on to davidbpodcast.com, that's davidbpodcast.com, they can find a load of resources on there that they can download from Strategic Coach and also a taster workshop. And if they just want to Google my name, David Braithwaite, they can connect with me. I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram. I think I'm everywhere, so I'm quite easy to find.
Thank you. David, it's been great to have you to share your online success journey with us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute joy. It's been wonderful to speak to you.
Thank you. Remember, success is a journey. Don't wait. Let's start the journey. Patience and David.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to Patience and her guest and want you to know that there are hundreds of episodes available at onlinesuccessjourney.com. Patience would like to thank you for listening to the podcast, and she has a free gift for you on her website, including an audio compilation of her guests' best tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. Additionally, there are special clips of over 250 episodes that have never aired on the podcast and are only available to members of the Online Success Journey. Check the website and click on Join Now to get free and instant access. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps us each chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed on the favorite platform you have to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review the podcast at Apple Podcasts and other sites. We appreciate your help and your willingness to share the journey. One last thing. If you're feeling a bit lost or overwhelmed on your own journey, Patience can help. Check out our coaching sessions on how to set goals and double your productivity while you're at the website. Working with Patience is a great way to get back on the right path. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.